let the group flow in.
Happy Friday, everybody. How we doing? And it's nice to see you again, man. It's been a while.
To see you, Stephen.
Are
Need to
you
get out.
where are you these days?
We're here in New York this week,
Nice.
here in the office, holding down the fort. Got a big new crew who've just joined us in the last few weeks, so it's getting busy and just by the Flatiron.
Sequence is cooking right now, man.
Well, trying to keep up with you guys. It's an exciting time. And we'll do a proper intro, but I mean it's crazy. I think we kicked this off like probably 2 years ago. I think we had our first thread uh together,
Yeah.
like and we started to see kind of some overlap with customers onboarding onto Rillet, and we started to see more kind of just the pie chart of Rillet expanding more and more across sequence customers, and then we connected, and it's just been awesome to observe all of the growth that's happened with you guys in the last 2 years, and yeah, seeing more and more of our customers and prospects adopt you all. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. Cool. Let's do it.
Cool. Well, we can kick things off. I can see the participants are gradually flowing up, but we have the session recorded. So, by way of a quick intro, great to meet everyone. I'm Enda, one of the co-founders here at Sequence, based here in New York. And today we are super excited to kick off our latest MCP series. And we're welcoming a name and face that you're probably all familiar with at this stage, Stephen Headland from Rillet. And we're going to be kicking off a couple of the really exciting workflows that we're seeing Rillet customers launch via their MCP. So, Stephen's been traveling the country and even internationally running these sessions. So, really excited to watch this up close. And yeah, we're going to try and keep this interactive. We've got the Q&A set up, so fire your questions in throughout the session. We're going to have kind of three main portions, three main workflows we're going to work through, spending about 5 to 10 minutes on each, and we'll try and leave some time for questions after each workflow. And then we'll have more of an open Q&A at the end for the last kind of 10 minutes or so if we have time. But with that, let's hand over to the main event and hand over the mic to Stephen.
Cool. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. Thanks, Enda. Excited to be here. So my name is Stephen Headland, head of finance at Rillet. We're the AI native ERP. So we actually just crossed 500 customers this month, which is nuts. After
Awesome.
coming out of stealth just 2 years ago. So you can think of us as a bit of a kind of a NetSuite we're built today. So all the things you expect from kind of an enterprise ERP, but with the UI you like, and fully AI native. So we'll actually look at it today about interacting with Rillet via the MCP. I'll keep this very practical as well. We're going to build a few things and like push to Slack, so you can kind of see what it looks like. Like I want to not just kind of see Rillet's MCP in action, but really learn how to interact with Claude through this. So yeah. How many folks maybe in the chat are already building with like Claude and MCP? How many folks haven't started yet? Anybody built something cool in the last week or so? Stephanie just starting. Awesome. Really glad you're here in the building. I love it. I love it. Cool. So my goal for this time, like I said, it's to show some stuff that's happening over your building every day. That I believe. It's good to see you. You guys are cooking over there in Neural too. Okay, cool. So my goal for today is to really show building of two things. One, we're going to build like a kind of a KPI dashboard, something that I actually like use today. I'll build an example here live and kind of push to our leadership team via Slack weekly. And then I want to show actually some like reading and writing within Rillet as well. So we'll pull like some journal entries that need departments tagged to them. And then the AI will suggest things we can tag, and then we'll push those to the system. And then I'll show how we can make these like recurring as well. So both kind of we'll start just kind of interacting with it via chat, and then we'll actually turn it into a skill that's recurring, so it happens all the time without us having to go in and prompt all the time. And so let me share screen here. I'll start with we'll start here in Claude. Can folks see my screen here? And Nick, can you see screen?
Yep, we're good to go.
Cool. I'll keep chat here. If, like I said, if you have questions as we go, like feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll try to make this, like I said, as useful as possible. If it's not useful, then like, what are we doing here? And so, okay. So what I'm doing here is this is in Claude. I'll just do this directly. I'll do this actually in chat is where we'll start. The reason I do this, like you could use Cowork here. I find chat is typically just faster for a conversational, like my first time building something. So here I'm going to ask, are you connected to Rillet via MCP? So once again, like Rillet is an ERP. So you can think about all your tools, like you got sequence for your revenue, say Ramp or Brex for AP. All the data flows into Rillet and build all your, financials, closure books, automate the close end to end. And so it's connected to Rillet. For this, I'm going to use the Rillet sandbox. Whoops, there we go. Um, so I want to start off by building, I'm going to, like I said, build a kind of KPI dashboard for us. And so I'm going to say first, what's, available on the MCP. I want to build a KPI update for my leadership team and send it to them via Slack. It includes these, man, typing is hard. It includes these metrics. So let's see what's available. What's kind of good to know as you're building kind of generally with your tools is you can connect Claude to your various tools via MCP. The way that works is you go here to customize, go to connectors, and in here you can look at the different ones that are available and just connect to them directly. So when you click connect and log in, it goes through the same like OAuth you would do kind of log in anything else. That's kind of how you connect here. Okay, so what's great about this is as you're building with Claude, it's going to ask questions for clarification, right? This is where I like it. Like you probably heard a lot of times before, like Claude is a bit like a junior analyst. And that's true. It's also a very smart junior analyst. And so typically, like when we were all first starting our careers, right, someone asked us to build a KPI dashboard. We just go and take off and start building it and then realize, oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to ask which month, which time period, all these things, right? So Claude is good because it starts asking these things already. So here I'm going to say, I'll say May. Let's start with May. And then the leadership channel. So let's see. I stood up one specifically for this. You can see what it looks like. It's called Friday Vibes. And so we'll push there. And so what like Claude's gonna do here is initially just like start going for it, right? It's gonna go via the MCP, Reload Sandbox, and it's gonna look through and start to pull these different like KPIs in directly. What's great about this is like because everything like within Rillet is available via the MCP with both read and write access. Like everything pulls through, right? So we've got both ARR, the different metrics. You can see like income statement. So like literally every kind of summation there across various lines as well as the journal entries themselves. So all of that's available to pull. And so
Steve,
what is
Stephen, do you
yeah.
just a quick one on this? Like it's interesting, like the what we see sometimes at Sequence is like people will use different models depending on the task they're using. Like you're using Sonnet 4.6 low here, and I think
Mm,
now we're all trying to come to grips with like when to use low, medium, hard, max. Like, and this is kind of in the early innings, but I'm curious, like if you're starting to see that questioning come up at all with real customers, like when should I use Sonnet low versus like just max it out and actually go for a full complex query.
yeah, that's a good point. I should actually use a better one for this, so it's faster. But no, it's a really good question because the question I hear most often from CFOs right now um, is like they're worried about token spend, like how much should I be spending there?
Yeah.
So I was talking to the CFO yesterday. They're spending about 1,500 per month per engineer. And they're like, is that good? Is that bad? Is that too much? Is that not enough? Like, should I be pushing them to spend more? None of us know. I had a buddy who works at a public company that are like 100 billion or something stupid, and um, for the last couple months they had just let everyone token max, everyone at the company just unfettered access, and then last week they like put the kibosh on, and literally set a very strict limit for everyone at the company because they were spending way too much, right? And so we've all been like token maxing the last couple months as companies and teams, and it's been great. And then also it's like, wait, the bill is how much? How much did we spend? And now folks are really starting to dig in and go like, where's the ROI for these things? So I feel strongly over the next few months, both like we'll see a lot of capabilities either built by Anthropic themselves or other tool providers that will help us shed light into that. But we're working on some things at Rillet that we'll be able to share pretty soon to kind of help CFOs navigate that complexity.
Yeah, that's awesome. And fully agree. We're hearing the same thing on like optimizing the models that are being used because I think for a lot of people, they just have a default set up as the most complex model, max effort, even just to run a task like find me the Slack message where me and Stephen talked about an event we hosted a month ago. It's like you probably don't need the max strength Claude model for that. So like having, and this is
Oh
where like some
man,
of
might need
the
Fable
open,
for it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, and I think the engineers are getting kind of clamped down on first because their token usage is a lot higher versus like the finance operators in Sequence and Rillet, like they may be managing contract and quoting and billing via Sequence, then booking all of that revenue and managing their GL in Rillet. Like as they pull in more MCPs, like you said, ramp on the AP side as well, like those queries can start to get more complex. It doesn't feel like that's where teams are clamping down on their finance budgets in terms of token spend, but it will be interesting to see if like this is maybe a Goldilocks period where we're able to use max strength for all of these different MCP queries, and perhaps we'll have to be a bit more selective in future.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's the like I guess the official term in the industry is like a harness. Which I'm like, I don't know why we all decided to go with that, but it's there, right? And that will actually like help you pick different models. Because yeah, what's interesting is Anthropic and ChatGPT, OpenAI have negative incentive to route you to a more efficient model,
Right.
right? Like that literally like hurts. Like I mean, I guess they have a little bit, right? If you spend too much on Anthropic, maybe you'll go over to Claude instead, but or if you go over to ChatGPT instead, but like they have incentive to run you on the highest model. Same as kind of like AWS does. So they'll probably create some efficiency over time that it's really going to come from a third party or you figuring out how to optimize it best yourself. I mean, there are entire businesses built off helping you optimize AWS and
Yeah.
spend there. And that the same thing will happen here with the model providers.
When it comes to like a task like this is like your weekly update to Friday vibes, like this is a recurring task that presumably you think you mentioned you send it to your leadership team every week. Like, how do you guys, how do your customers think about the recurring scheduled tasks in Plod versus like just coming in ad hoc? Because a lot of these reporting tasks, for example, you probably want them on a set cadence, right? And maybe in those cases you're willing to use a more advanced model because if it takes an extra few minutes, you'd rather it be, watertight when it goes to your leadership team channel versus it being kind of a few minutes earlier. Curious how you guys are
Yep.
thinking about that.
Yeah, exactly. The best things to use Cloud for is definitely the stuff that's recurring, for sure. The things that are one-offs is harder to automate, specifically because they're one-offs, right? And so, let's see. Okay, so here it's already connected to Friday Vibes. It's drafted something. I'm gonna go ahead and say send, and then let's actually go see what this looks like. So here, like, I don't know if you caught that, but like end to end, right? This just pulled all the KPIs out for me. I didn't go download this from Rillet and then put it into Excel and then update the formulas and change the filters and like none of that. And then I didn't take a screenshot and put it into Slack. Like instead, I just, ask Claude for it. Okay, so here it is. Um, okay, but you're probably, if you're looking at this and you're like me, you're like, wait, okay, it's nice to see the month over month, but I'd actually like to have April there, right? So I have it for comparison. So what's great about this is I can just ask it and say, I don't like current format. Maybe I should be nicer here. I don't know. Let's add April as well for comparison. and say, oh, I'm gonna like go ahead and iterate with it. Now, what's great here is it's showed me, prior top vendors, revenue up. It looks like cash balance increased, which is great. That's good. Um, or sorry, cash down, which makes sense with 300K loss here. So that's good to know. Okay. Wow, that was really quick. Um, okay. So here I'm gonna say, okay, cool, go ahead and send again. Um, and now I've got April, May's comparison, and then month over month. But you'll notice I lost the emojis. Um, I lost the emojis. I really like those. Can you have those back? Okay. And then once I've got this in a place that I want it, right? I want to, but before I am, I've used this right. This is great. But yeah, we won't take the time here. Yeah, but ideally, right, you'd want to verify these things first, right? Like this is saying add a Tableau as a new logo. Like, is that right? Right. And so I could go into Rillet and actually say, um, so I want to go into Rillet and like verify. What's nice about like, so we're doing this in Claude via MCP. You can do this like within Rillet as well and also push to Slack. And then it will show you exactly where it pulls everything from. So you can actually click into the reports where it's coming from, like literally see the SQL that it wrote to get there. Um, and then you'll be able to like track it back and audit it and see where these things came from, which is very cool. Okay, so this is cool, right? Like we said, but I don't want to come in here every day and have to say, hey, am I connected to Rilla VMCP? Here's my metrics, build it out, and do all these edits, right? And so what I'm going to do now is turn this into a recurring skill that will run on its own. So when I come in the morning, this just happens for me. And so I'm going to say, I want to turn this into a recurring report that pushes to Slack every 10 a.m. PT on Friday. And so the way I'm going to do that is, so this is in chat directly here. This is currently an annoying nuance about Claude, and I hope that they fix it. I imagine they will because they're shipping very fast. But you cannot build recurring connections here in chat. You have to do it in Cowork. But what I'm going to do is say, like, I want to build this recurring report here. Write me a spec that I can use to build a skill. I will give it to Cowork and build a skill. Okay. You can also like what's great about this is like you can also ask Claude like, hey, I want to make this recurring. How do I do that? So that's initially how I built my first recurring report was exactly that. Is just asking Claude like, how do I do this? Right. And so while this is going, um, Margaret, you said one thing I've seen is skills degrade over time. Oh, interesting. I actually haven't noticed that. That's interesting. Though it is worth in checking. I'll actually look into that and come back. I haven't heard them degrading over time, but I will look into that. That's a good insight. Um, Okay. So here, what's great is like it says like I've baked in the gotchas, so it's already going to bake in that I like the emojis, that I like the format, that I like the prior months there. And we're building this very quickly, but there's probably maybe to your point, Margaret, there's probably quite a few things we missed in here, right? So like what happens on July 1st? Is it gonna know to now poll June and May, or is it gonna just keep polling May and April? The honest answer is I'm not sure, right? And so there's still probably a bit of like, I don't know if debugging is the right word here to use, but like it's probably not in a perfect state yet. If we were spending more time on it, that's what we would think through. And so I could even ask Claude like, what else am I not thinking about, right? What are the other things I should do here? And so, okay, so here now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this skill, I'm going to copy that directly from here. So it says here's a build spec, okay, the skill computes last full month at runtime. Okay, cool. So it already was intelligent enough to know, hey, don't just pull May and April, pull whatever is relevant here. Yeah. So, and then it knows to kind of work through it and think about it. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go into to cowork now, make a new task. I'm going to paste that into here. And then let's see, up above this, I'm going to say, let's turn this into a recurring skill. Here is the spec from chat. At some point, there's enough people copying and pasting things from chat into cowork and into code. At some point, Anthropic will just make that seamless, right? Like, Anthropic really is operating at the speed of a startup right now, which is crazy, right? Just shipping constantly. So all these like little things we'd like to have, they just haven't done yet, but they will very soon. Okay, so it's going to make the skill for me there. While it's doing that, I want to kick off another task where I'm going to say, I'll actually just do this one in cowork directly, is I want to build a skill that will flag journal entries. Let me change this. Um, in my books for the current month that do not have a department assigned to them. I want Claude to look at the context and prior vendor transactions and suggest what department it should be. Don't write immediately. Instead, suggest it and I'll approve it. Let's do some test runs. Don't build the skill just yet. Okay, cool. Alfonso, good question. So for this, you could start in chat or cowork. Chat and cowork are annoyingly very similar. It's like in some ways, like frankly, really bad branding. Cowork is, I have found it useful for a couple things. One is building recurring skills. And so if you want something to run at 9 a.m. every Friday or something like that, that can't happen in chat. Is chat has to be prompted every single time, whereas cowork has that recurring ability. The other thing that Cowork can do is it can co-work with you. And so you can literally have Cowork open your browser and go into like on a LinkedIn, for example, and scrape how many likes you got on your last post or something like that, right? Like that is something Cowork can go do for you. It can go in and look at flights and like walk through and potentially even like book a flight for you, right? And so like Cowork can do that by literally clicking around within your computer in a way that chat cannot do. Okay, so here it's probing Rillet data to understand how journal entries and understanding the structure. Okay, so while it's doing that, we're going to come back and look at this weekly KPI Slack skill that we built. And so you'll see some questions here about like always allow versus deny. I basically always say yes. You should use some caution if there's something here like let's say you're working with like your MCP, ramp MCP can send payments, right? So you should be somewhat careful depending on what you're using. Here, I'm just pulling data from Rillet. So if it were to do something crazy, like it's not going to break anything here, right? And so here I'm going to say yes, though you can also like look and read through it and say like it wants to use retrieves executive P&L report from Rillet Sandbox. And so it's like what this it's writing code here to your point, Alfonso, and it's saying, here's the dates, here's the prompt. I want to pull it from, this area. So I'm just going to say yes. I'll say yes here. Yeah. So you can ask it to explain itself if you need to. TLDR is like you can pretty much just say yes. Though, obviously, we're accounting and finance folks and we care about auditability. So be careful as well. And do you always say yes?
Of course.
The reason I say that example is I don't think it wasn't Ramp, but it was some other AP tool that someone was working with, and that I was like, yeah, I always say yes, and they're like, I did too, until I told yes to my claw with AP tool, and it started making a payment, and they had to like log in really quick and stop it. I was like, whoa, 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 scary, you know?
Oh, for ride access as well. Yeah, I would. I'm
Yeah.
careful on that end. I'm mainly using it for like querying and pulling data, like read only. I'm not yet at the point where I'm allowing it to actually authorize actions. Like it's, and I think it's related to some of this, right? Like the finance operators that we're working with, like they have very little margin for error when it comes to things like billing, journal
Yes.
entries, payments. So like I think this is a really good workflow example, and I've seen how customers have leveraged this from Rillet from a reporting standpoint. So at the end of the day, if you need to go back here and correct something that it got wrong, that's not the end of the world. Whereas a payment that you've just authorized or a journal entry that's been made that's incorrect, that's just a lot more painful to
Yeah.
unwind. So the appetite for errors, like how reversible is the action that you're making? That to me is kind of how I think through whether to kind of give write access to these MCPs or just read only.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so we still have jobs at least for now, I think is the takeaway there.
Yeah. I hope you got the payment back though.
They did. It never actually shipped out. They had time to stop it, so it's okay. Um, okay, so this one here, like we said, we're jumping around a bit back and forth, but here what I asked for it to do is pull journal entries that are missing a department categorization, and then it is making suggestions for it, right? So here I'm just testing it. I'm just seeing like, is it going to be good at this? Is it, good use here? And so here it's like demand base, ABM platform, suggesting sales and marketing, Sprout social sales and marketing, like that makes sense. Fidelity, G&A, yep, makes sense. Travelers, insurance. So like this is crazy, right? It is inferring this almost with no coaching at all, right? It is looking over prior transactions. So it is looking at like, hey, Travelers has been, G&A in the past. And then maybe if it hasn't seen, Verizon, it's thinking through like, oh, this should probably go to G&A because it's Verizon, right? And so this is awesome. Um, and so, but I want to do a test run and also prove that this works. Um, Let's try the fidelity entry. Can you pull the link where this goes to in Rillet so I can verify? Okay. And so we're going to start with the fidelity entry. And you'll notice here, like, it's giving me a lot of text here. I'm not reading all of it, right? It's like very verbose. You can scan quickly, get an idea of what's happening. You don't necessarily have to read through all of it. We're also a demo, so I'm taking, less time than I normally would. Okay. Yep, fine. Okay. I'm going to allow that here. It's going to pull the exact current state. Okay. Now, at the same time, let me pull this up in Rillet to make sure I'm on the proper section here. Okay, so while this is going, let's see. Yep, so org gets SH sandbox. Okay, awesome. So yeah, like I said, this is what's great about Claude, is it not good and bad, right? Sometimes it takes a while. The great thing is here is like while I'm waiting on it, I can go do something else. And so go get a cup of coffee or catch up on all the slacks that I'm missing. Um, whatever's needed, right? And so let's see here. Um, okay. And so it's pulled the journal entry ID. Okay. So here, this was interesting, right? It actually doesn't know what the URL is, but I've got the entry ID here. So I will grab the entry ID. I'm gonna go look for that within Rillet here. Okay, so I'll give it the ID so now it knows for the future. Now it has that syntax, and going forward, it will be able to, because it has the journal entry ID available on the MCP, it can now show that for each one. So now it, knows the link here, so I can click on this link, open it up. Okay, so let's check and see. Okay, this one already has a department assigned to it, guys. Let's see. Oh,
We're I think
interesting.
we're looking at the Claude page here, Stephen. I'm not sure if you
Oh,
switched
shoot,
over.
shoot. Okay, thank you.
All good.
Okay, let me show my real instance here. Okay, so this
There
is
we
this
go.
is this is interesting. This is why we like test and practice, right? Is so this actually already updated. You can see 10:29:37 a.m. updated by it shows by Steven because it's using my connector for this. Yeah, if you click in, you can see like Claude's done it there, but here it already would have updated. And so let me come back here to Claude and say, "Whoa, I thought I had told you not to update yet. Why does it have a department assigned already?" Yeah. And then it's like I said, in some ways, this shouldn't surprise us, right? This happens with our teams, right? We say, "Hey, don't do this yet," and they go ahead and do it anyway. So once again, that's like why it's good to, like we were talking earlier, like if it's something like this, easy to be a little looser with it. If it's something like sending payments or if you're working in sequence and like sending invoices to customers, something like that, right? Um, see, when I said let's try the fidelity entry to prove this works, it interpreted it differently than I meant it. That's pretty fun. Um, yeah, go ahead and revert it. And so let's
That's
see.
awesome that you can revert. The one that you have the auditability in the platform straight away,
Yeah.
that any task you've done via the MCP is logged on the activity dashboard and that you can go and revert it. Like I think that just gives such a huge amount of peace of mind to a finance operator to at least play around with this, right? You've got little downside. You can always just the get out of jail
Totally.
card is reverse
Right.
all actions. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So here we go. Okay, cool. And now you can see now department's missing and it's been updated, right? That's so cool. Okay. And so now what I want to do here is I'll come back to Claude and say, cool, that worked. I guess I don't really need to say that, but let's build a skill now that will review all JEs each morning and suggest include a link so I can click in and test. And don't update any departments until I say so. Okay, so it's going to go build that skill. It's going to come back with questions, right? Because I'm just saying do this each morning. Like I'm not giving it much context. And this is like really good takeaway and framework for all of us here is when you can see like the prompt you use matters a lot, right? So when I say let's try the fidelity entry, I'm thinking let's just look at this, right? But because I'm not being very clear in my language, it's going ahead and taking the action that I don't want it to. So good reminder to be very careful in how we do these pieces. Okay, so this one is stuck here, which is interesting. It's running eval test use cases. Um, okay, I'm gonna stop it. Okay, I'm legitimately not sure what happened here. Um, let's just try it again. We'll do Opus high and we'll let it run. So sometimes these things don't work, right? And it's fine. You can go through and try to debug, or the great thing here is like I'm just gonna try it again and let it rip. And if it
And
doesn't
Stephen,
work, then I'll change it up.
you're obviously doing this for the first time now, but like you're creating a new skill as you go. And do you see that like Rillet customers over time, like the percentage of ad hoc queries they're doing is reduced because they just start building up this database of skills and recurring tasks like what you're doing here. So
Yes.
you're kind of for the benefit of the audience showing all this step by step. But like if you were to fast forward like 4 weeks into using this on Rillet, you're probably just leveraging like 80, 90% of your work is just being done by the skills that you're showing us here, I'd imagine.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, no, it's a really good point. Is let me take it back to like this journal entry skill, for example. So you'll see like it starts with it says I'll start by probing your related data to understand how journal entries and departments are structured, right? So it is the first thing it's doing is like looking across the MCP and trying to understand how these things are built and like structured within Rillet. And so what's going to happen here is when I build a specific skill, now each time that it uses this specific skill, it already understands how the journal entry departments are structured, right? It's going to build that into the skill so it doesn't have to relearn that. but it's only going to work for this specific report. So what I could do is build a separate skill and call it, I don't know, Rillet MCP readability. And it includes syntax like this, right? Where you'll see here, like the field ID is the department ID, right? Here's the different field value IDs here, right? So like this is you might have heard the term like semantic layer. That's kind of what this is here. So in this case, like you're building the context of in this case, the ERP, but the database where the data is coming from, you're like teaching Claude or the AI how to read this database. And this is really important because you can think about like even like a contract within, within Sequence, Rillet, Salesforce, like wherever it's hosted. It's got a start date, it's got an end date, it might have a contract sign date, it might have a renewal date in there, right? It's got a bunch of different dates attached to it. And you know which date the ARR starts in, right? But when you ask, hey, Claude, what's the current ARR? It might look at any one of those dates. And so you have to teach Claude which date you care about. And you can do that every time, or you can build a skill that will do it for you. So every time you ask what's ARR, Claude will know, hey, she's asking about ARR. Let me go reference the skill. Okay, you care about the start date of the contract. Okay, great. That's what I'll use.
Yeah, and Alicia had an interesting point there in the chat about how she doesn't use Claude directly for reporting, but she'll pipe in reporting data, and it almost sounds like maybe it would help with anomaly detection. And where I'm getting to with this is, I'd imagine this is going to get pretty powerful. Where imagine you combine the sequence and the Rillet MCP into Claude, and you've got all of your contracting, billing data, all of your journal entries, everything in one place. Your ability to then reference the context across your entire revenue workflow becomes extremely powerful. If you notice something's off in a journal entry in Rillet, you have the quoting context, the billing context, all of that is feeding into one system of
Yes.
record. I think that starts getting pretty powerful as a finance operator, where you're more being flagged risks on a weekly or monthly basis when you're closing your books and having all of that data readily available in a skill or in a cloud thread.
Yeah, it's awesome. Um, and yes, Alfonso, exactly there. So here I'm going to go ahead and save the skill. Um, and now you can look into my like different, here's the specific skills where then I can, so here, let me see. So here, obviously you can like edit it, but I think let's see if this is already scheduled. If I go to cowork and I see scheduled, okay, so let me see. Okay, so it's not set up recurring. So I'm going to go back to this and say, um, well, thanks for building skill. Let's set it up to be recurring at 9 a.m. every weekday, Pacific time. And one thing to note here, you may have seen people buying like the Mac Minis or something on Twitter or LinkedIn. The reason for that is this will only work when Claude is open. So literally only when my laptop is open will this run. We had when I go to market team, one of our team members built a agent to help create opportunities in Salesforce. And you literally just like go into the Slack channel, you type in what is it, the website, who it's assigned to, where it was sourced from, and like it will go create the opportunity in Salesforce. Very cool because Salesforce UI is not awesome, right? So it'll like create it for you. But then like one time it wasn't running, and I was like, wait, why is this broken? Like, what's going on? And I pinged her, and she's like, and then she like came back on the next morning, and then it worked again. I was like, oh, just like laptop wasn't open. And so here, like, yeah, this has to be running, which is very annoying. So it will wait for you until you open your laptop or whatever, and then it'll run again. Okay, so now it's all set. It's created a recurring task. It says it's active here. Sweet. So I could run it now. I could still edit it. Like all of this is changeable, right? But yeah, that's it.
So awesome.
And
Thanks
now
so
we've
much
got a
for
Slack
running
skill
through
here.
this.
Yeah, and yes, Alfonso, to your point, dude, you're a legend, clearly. Is yes, so you can add these like to GitHub as well for shareability, kind of across your teams, as well as for yes, like setting up to be recurrent if you need to.
Do you guys have that in place with like a non-technical folks at Rillet as well? Like, you'll have some of these skills. I know some
Mhm.
teams are really kind of at the far end of the spectrum on that end. Like, we're not there yet either. It's mainly like shared projects, shared skills. Um, but yeah, curious
Yeah.
how you guys are thinking about it.
Yeah, we share the project and share the skills. So you can share skills like if you have Anthropic Enterprise, you can like share the skills kind of across teams. So yeah, we've been doing that or kind of sharing them, but we're trying to figure out the best method to share across teams and make it kind of available for everyone to access and things like that.
Yeah,
Mm, cool. Any other questions from the chat before we wrap up? This was a lot of fun. And I learned new things today with Claude, so that was pretty cool.
awesome.
Yeah, most important pitfalls, traps to avoid. One is exactly what we looked at, of where like I was not clear in my prompt, and therefore I did something I didn't want to do, right? And so really like clear language, in some ways we call it like the art of prompting. Where actually I think it's not this next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after, we're hosting a session as part of our Vibe Academy, specifically on like prompting fundamentals. Yeah. So like one is exactly that. It's like how do you best prompt it so you get the outcome you want? Um, and then the other piece is like that I like I guess I'd say not maybe not avoid, but like these things feel very intimidating, right? There's like all these new terms, MCP and CLI and HTML and like a lot of things that we as finance and accounting folks are not familiar with or have not been. Even like GitHub, right? You may not even heard of GitHub until Alfonso mentioned it in the chat, right? And so there's like all these quote unquote scary terms. And the cool thing is like this is all new, right? Like Opus launched in February, I think February 5th when Opus 4.6 came out. It's only been out for a couple months. So like we are not that far into this and everyone that's talking about this stuff now has all learned it in the last few months. And so we can get a lot of leverage and distance just by leaning in, right? Is playing with it, working with it, asking Claude, hey, how do I connect the MCP? I first learned how to use Claude Code by asking Claude Chat how to use Claude Code. And it's like, open a terminal. I said, what's a terminal? Right. And it like literally walks me through the steps for how to operate. So the best advice I can give is just like lean in on this stuff and be curious.
Awesome. Stephen, thank you so much for doing this, for laying down the template for us all here. Awesome what you guys are doing. And yeah, for any of you guys who aren't following Rillet, Stephen, LinkedIn, there's a ton of materials like this being shared regularly. So Stephen, really appreciate it. And yeah, thanks for joining
Yeah.
us today, and appreciate everyone making time for us as well on a Friday afternoon slash morning
Mhm.
slash evening. And yeah, have a good one,
Yeah. It
guys. Really appreciate the
was
time and have a
awesome.
great weekend.
Have a great weekend. See you soon. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Bye.